Meet Harley, the sweetest dachshund you ever met. I've always worried about her back, but as she's getting older I'm worrying about it more because she loves to jump on and off things. Roar! So today we fixed that. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to build a split Ottoman dog ramp. I will also leave a link in the description to some simple build plans which include the dimensions of each piece, simple layout, and also a cut list. Now let's build this thing. We'll start off with cutting up our 10 smaller panels from a 4 foot by 8 foot sheet of 1/2 inch plywood. This project used a little more than half of that 4 by 8 sheet. Once you have your 10 smaller panels cut up, we'll focus on the sides highlighted here with the peach color. The simplest method to cut a box in half or in a diagonal. We'll measure down 1 inch from each side and draw a diagonal. And from that, just cut straight across that line, and that will create your top and your bottom half of the split Ottoman. Now we'll work on the front panel. Keeping with the same dimensions, we'll come up 1 inch from the bottom and cut across that line. Now working on the ramp supports, in the same fashion, you come up 1 inch from the ends and cut across the line. We'll do a little mock-up assembly to see how this thing looks, and then we'll start putting it together with glue and screws. Now let's attach the base. We'll first tack it in place to help with the movement so the screws don't make it walk all over the place. And then we'll come back, we'll pre-drill some holes so the plywood doesn't spit. These are the screws that I used on this project, number 8 by 1 1/4 inch. Once you have everything screwed together, we can do a little mock-up and see if the two parts align well. Time to install the ramp supports. These are simple. We'll just place them in there, tack them in place. Now we'll add a little blocking for the legs, just for some structural stability. Once you have those backing blocks installed, now we can lay out the legs. These are the legs I chose. They are adjustable height legs with a removable base. So what I did is I came up 2 inches from the bottom and the side, and then we'll just mark out our holes, and we'll come back and we'll pre-drill those, and we'll save that for later. We don't want to install the legs quite yet. We still got to install the fabric on the bottom side, but we'll pre-drill holes so we don't have to worry about damaging that fabric. We'll do a little test run on the ramp, make sure it fits properly. For the ramp, I cut a 15-degree angle on each side so that it fits in there nice and snug. Working on the bottom piece of the ramp here, now we can start to install our upholstery, but first we must install batting. This will help the upholstery slide over. Now working on the top piece, we will install the cushion where you would rest your feet or possibly sit on. And this is the glue I'm using. It's the 3M Super 77 glue. So what we'll do is we'll apply the glue all over the place and install it right on the foam. Trim away your excess. For the batting on the top piece, the only thing you really do differently is I added some adhesive glue where the batting came in contact with the seat cushion, just to help everything kind of stay in place. Now time to start installing the upholstery. Working on the top piece here, we'll install the top piece of fabric. Make sure it's nice and squared up on your piece. And then what I did is I went around and tacked each side just to make sure that the overhang on each side was appropriate and everything looked good as far as stretch of the fabric. Once you have everything dialed in how you like it, go ahead and tack it all the way around. Except for the corners, leave those for last. Here's how I did the corners. What you want to do is fold the fabric over and then back onto itself so that it creates a nice vertical seam. Here's another angle of a corner. This one I installed a staple a little too close that I had to pull out. Trim away the excess fabric, and now we can move on to the side piece. For the side piece, since we already installed that top piece of fabric, it's installed a little differently because you're going to have a seam right there that's pretty visible. So what I did is you want to install the fabric inside out and upside down. We'll line up our edges to create a nice even seam all the way around as seen here. And to help get a nice clean looking seam, we'll use this upholstery tack strip. It's basically just cardboard. You get a lifetime supply of it for about 10 bucks. One thing I did do on this that I think will help is make sure your staples are nice and evenly distributed and your staples are close to the top of the cardboard tack strip. That will help with when you fold over the fabric, it creates a nice clean seam. Once you have the tack strip installed, now we can fold over the fabric. Be careful here, you don't want to blow out your seams on the fabric. Working the fabric around and ensuring that your batting is kind of stayed in place and it looks appropriate and isn't bulging, you can fold over the fabric and start tacking it to the inside. Work your way around all four sides and tack it in place just to make sure the fabric is lined up where you want it, and then you can go around and start tacking everywhere in place. Save the corners for last. The corners are tricky on this inside fold over wrap. I'm no upholstery expert and I struggle with this, but just keep cutting the fabric away and folding it and mending it and molding it until you get it to look how you want it to. Now we'll repeat the process with the upholstery on the bottom piece. The difference with this one is we don't have the seam for the cushion that we installed on the top. So this one can just be installed as is, as you would look at it, not inside out or upside down or anything like that. And then we're going to put that black felt Cambria material on the bottom of this so it doesn't have to look very good. We'll cover this seam up that we're stapling here with that black fabric. Now that we have our top and bottom pieces fully upholstered, we can install the piano hinge. This is a 12-inch long hinge. It's 1 1/16 inch wide. You want to install this so the rod, the joining part of the hinge, is level with the top edge of this piece. Once you have the bottom all screwed in, we can install the top piece. Make sure it's all lined up and then screw it in. Let's take it for a little test run, see how it looks. That'll work. Now we can start to finish the ramps. What I have here is an old yoga mat. I'm just going to repurpose some stuff that we don't use around the house. So trace that out around the ramp. Once you have your ramp covers cut up, we can go ahead and install them in the box. Make sure the ramp is all centered up and go ahead and finally tack the ramp down. Now we could have installed that mat or the yoga mat on the ramp before we installed this, but I wanted it to be a nice tight fit where you made sure you didn't see any wood underneath or anything like that. So I opted to install the mat after I installed the ramp. So we're gonna tape it off and then we're gonna glue it on. You want to lay the mat down slowly, kind of stretch it out, make sure there's no wrinkles in it. We'll tuck in the sides a little bit and then make sure we have good adhesion and we'll roll it in place. Attempt to repeat the process on the other side. I say attempt because I struggled here. For some reason the glue spray can didn't want to cooperate and it started gumming up on me, getting everywhere. So I was getting a little frustrated. Hands were all covered in glue. My only option was to put some gloves on with glue and all and carry on before that glue dried. So I managed to get it done. It worked out all right. Once you have that firmly pressed in place, remove all the tape. And now we can go ahead and tuck in all our seams. This was probably the most satisfying part of the whole project. Two more steps to go. We'll install that Cambric fabric on the bottom. Last step, time to install the legs. Let's find those pre-drilled holes we made earlier. I'm using a screwdriver and I'm just filling my way around until I can fill those holes. We'll poke through the cambria so the drill bit doesn't snag it and tear it all up. To install the legs, we'll separate the base from the actual leg so we can get good access to install the screw properly. We don't want that screw going in an angle or anything like that. So Repeat that process 3 more times and we'll pretty much be done. Let's flip it over and see how it looks. Hold it open. These legs are adjustable, so we'll adjust it so everything sits properly. Now it's time for the star of the show to return. Here's Harley. Take it for a test run. I think she likes it at first. Oh, look at that. Not bad. Thanks for watching.
Please like and subscribe so my dad will build me more stuff.